Hello and welcome, dear friend, to Short Stories, a production of adventuresinaudio.net. I'm Robert Crandall. On this podcast, I narrate short stories of mostly horror and related genres, featuring authors like Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft, and others. First of all, I want to say thank you to Rose, who sent in an email. And she wrote, "I hope everything is going well for you. I'm a big fan of the show. Been listening since from beyond of last year. You have a great storyteller voice and sound similar to David Carradine." Is it Carradine or Carradine? I can't remember. The Kung Fu guy. Well, thank you, Rose. I hope you'll continue to listen. And thank you so much for those kind words. And to anyone else who's listening, I want you to know that I eminently appreciate your being with me on this podcast. I also want to give a special thanks to those who have purchased poems. I know that right now there are only two. It's Annabelle Lee by Edgar Allan Poe and Wilderness by Carl Sandburg. Here is an excerpt from Wilderness by Carl Sandburg. I nose in the dark and take sleepers and eat them and hide the feathers. I circle and loop and double cross. There is a hog in me, a snout and a belly, a machinery for eating and grunting, a machinery for sleeping satisfied in the sun. I got this too from the wilderness, and the wilderness will not let it go. There is a fish in me. I know. I came from the salt blue water gates. I scurried with shoals of herring. I blew water spouts with porpoises. Before land was, before the water went down. There is an excerpt from the poem Wilderness by Carl Sandburg, now available on adventuresinaudio.net. Just click on Poems. The poems are only 99 cents, and your support is greatly appreciated. More poems are on the way. I have some that I have recorded, but I have to do what they call post-production. That is to edit out all the little clicks and little sounds and stuff that are inherently in a audio recording. And of course, the outburst of rage that colorfully illustrates the high level of dissatisfaction, tension, and grief caused by an error. No, you don't want to hear that, so I have to take that part out for sure. So anyway, more poems are on the way. Now for our feature story. The story is science fiction and horror. A space traveler comes across a planet that has been devastated by some sort of catastrophe. He finds a woman and a child seemingly in despair. He tries to help, but his efforts end in disaster. I hope you enjoy The Last Supper by T.D. Hamm. Hampered as she was by the child in her arms, the woman was running less fleetly now. A wave of exaltation swept over Guldran, drowning out the uneasy feeling of guilt at disobeying orders. The instructions were mandatory and concise. No capture must be attempted individually. In the event of sighting any form of human life, the ship must be notified immediately. All small craft must be back at the landing space not later than 1 hour before takeoff. Anyone not so reporting will be presumed lost. Guldran thought uneasily of the great seas of snow and ice sweeping inexorably toward each other since the earth had reversed on its axis in the great catastrophe a millennium ago. Now summer and winter alike brought paralyzing gales and blizzards, heralded by sleety snow in which the woman's skin-clad feet had left the tracks which led to discovery. His trained anthropologist's mind speculated avidly over the little they had gotten from the younger of the two men found nearly a week before, nearly frozen and half-starved. The older man had succumbed almost at once. The other, in the most primitive sign language, had indicated that, of several humans living in the caves to the west, only he and the other had survived to flee some mysterious terror. Guldran felt a throb of pity for the woman and her child, left behind by the men, no doubt as a hindrance. But what a stroke of fortune that there should be left a male and female of the race to carry the seed of Terra to another planet. And what a triumph if he, Guldran, should be the one to return at the 11th hour with the prize. No need of calling for help. There was no armed war party, but the most defenseless being in the universe, a mother burdened with a child. Guldran put on another burst of speed. His previous shouts had served only to spur the woman to greater efforts. Surely there was some magic word that had survived even the centuries of illiteracy, something equivalent to the bread and salt of all illiterate peoples. Cupping his hands to his mouth, he shouted, "Food! Food!" Ahead of him, the woman turned her head, leaped lightly in mid-stride, and went on, slowing a little bit but still running doggedly. Guldran's pulse leaped. He yelled again, "Food!" The instant that his foot touched the yielding surface of the track, he knew that he had met defeat, as his body crashed down on the fire-sharpened stakes. He knew, too, the terror from which the last men of the human race had fled. Above him the woman looked down, her teeth gleaming wolfishly. She pointed down into the pit, spoke exultantly to the child. "Food!" said the last woman on earth. You've been listening to The Last Supper by T.D. Hamm. Socrates once said, "Worthless people live only to eat and drink. People of worth eat and drink only to live." I've enjoyed being with you and hope to be with you again soon. Please take care and try to be and stay happy. Thank you for listening to me.